What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Trev, and today we are not fishing. We are recording a video. Well, I'm recording a video to tell you about all of my fishing rods. I have not a ton. Hopefully this video isn't too long, but there's stuff that I put a lot of my money into and stuff I care about a lot, and I figured I would make a video showing you guys why I have so many, because I know a lot of you do not understand why I choose to spend all my money on this. So I'm going to explain that kinda today. And to any of you who do also have a lot of rods, you will know that this collection is good but not crazy. So to start off, we are going to talk about this combo right here. This is a St. Croix Bass X paired up with a Shimano SLX MGL. That's the 70 size. It's a newer SLX, 71 high gear I should say. And yeah, so this rod is 6'8". It is medium and it's an extra fast rod. And the line I've got that spooled up with is 10-pound braided line. And I'm going to be tying a mono leader to this all the time because this is my popper rod. The leader is probably 10, 12, 15, 8, 10, 12 pounds depending on where I'm fishing. But yeah, I use this rod for poppers and other smaller topwaters, like a whopper plopper or something like that. But yeah, primarily a popper rod for me. I was using this the other day and caught a nice bass. It was probably like 3.5 to 4 pounds maybe. It's always, yep. Down, put him down. Oh, that was close. There we go. Maybe nice smallie. And that was my first pretty big fish I've caught on this rod, and it handled it like super well. So all in all, I love this combo. That is the older generation of the Bass X, so it's blue instead of the new one that they have. I like this one more just because it pairs nicely with the SLXs. But yeah, that is my small topwater combo. This next combo I'm here to talk about is my Shimano X Pride, that's upside down, paired with my Corrado 70 MGL. This is not the newest generation of the X Pride, they just came out with it, but this is the X Pride A, I think. Whatever, the not as new one. And that is the Corrado 70 right there. It's an MGL as well, same as the SLX. The only difference really between the Corrado and the SLX is, other than color, Corrados get the micro module gearing and maybe some other small things. This different thumb bar, which I like more. But yeah, this is a really nice combo of mine that I really like and use a lot. It is a 6'10", medium, moderate fast. It doesn't actually say exactly what the action is, but that's okay because I know it's really good. What I've got tied on there right now is a dark sleeper, and that bait right there is money for smallies and largies in clear water situations. The reason I have it tied on right now is because I was just at the St. Lawrence River. My family has a cottage there, and I was throwing it a little bit for smallies. I didn't actually get a bite, but I didn't throw it very much. We were mostly doing drop shots and whatever for walleye and bass and perch, whatever we could catch. But yeah, this is the X Pride. I've got that spooled up. I believe it's 10-pound fluoro, maybe it's 12. I don't remember for sure. And like I said, I have the dark sleeper on here right now, but the primary use of this rod is for jerkbaits. I bought it for jerkbaits because Tactical Bassin, Matt, Tim, said that this is the best rod for jerkbaits, and I believed them, and I agree with them as well. Not that I've tried a lot of other jerkbait rods, but I really like this for jerkbaits versus the other three I've tried, and yeah, it's really good. So that is my jerkbait combo. It's an X Pride paired up with a Corrado 70. That's a really nice combo. You can't get a lot nicer than that for jerkbaits, other than maybe an Aldebaran, but I don't have that kind of money. And it's also great for dark sleepers. So, yeah. Alright guys, this combo is another combo that I like. I just don't actually use it very much because it's not perfect for me, but it's not important right now. This is the St. Croix Mojo Bass paired up with a Corrado 70, just not the same one I just showed you. This is the previous generation of it, if you were. This is the combo that I use for small crankbaits. So this is a little 1.5 size square bell. I've got that spooled up with, I think, 20-pound braid to a probably 12-pound leader. And yeah, like I said, square bells, smaller crankbaits, maybe wake baits or something like that, I don't know. But the reason I don't like this very much is because it's not very versatile for me, and I can barely throw a 2.5 size crank, and I don't really know what would happen if I had a big bass or a big fish hit me on a 2.5 size crank. It's 7.1 medium moderate, and the bend on this rod is just insane. Like, it bends a lot. And no, I don't not have faith in St. Croix. I know that their rods are really good. I just don't know how I feel about an actual big fish hitting this rod with a bait that's already pulling the rod a lot. But I've just never caught anything with it. So it's maybe a rod that I'd like to upgrade in the short future, or in the future. But as of right now, it's good. And it does a really good job with 1.5 size cranks. The reason I mean, obviously it's a crankbait rod, so you want that moderate action. It's just a little bit softer than I'd like. But yeah, that's it. We've got a little craw colored square bell on there because, well, it was just recently springtime. I actually just drew on it with Sharpie. It used to be white. But yeah, that is my small crankbait rod. We have reached the medium heavy rods now. Those were all medium, and we're kind of just working our way up. So this is my first medium heavy rod. I'm going to start with it because it doesn't have a reel on it right now, as you can see. But this is the G Loomis E6X. It's a jig rod. It's 7'5", medium heavy. It's recommended for 3/16 to 5/8 ounce lures, and so that's kind of a lighter medium heavy in my opinion. But yeah, this is the jig rod. It's 7'5", so it's long. And it's just a little bit tip heavy, and so I don't actually have a reel on it because I don't use it a lot. And that's not because I dislike it, I just don't actually know what specifically to use it for. It's probably going to become my main Texas rig rod. Woo! When I get another reel, because right now I have, for bait casting reels at least, more reels than I do rods. No, more rods than I do reels. But this will likely just become a Texas rig rod for me eventually. I'm sure I could use it for jigs too, but I just have better rods for that in my opinion. But yeah, not much to say about this rod. Maybe I'll get a Corrado MGL, one of the new ones, the 150 size ones, and pair that up with this, with some straight fluorocarbon or braid, I don't know exactly, but either way, that is this rod. I like it a lot, and this E6X line in general is just really great. I have 2 more of them, and I will show you them soon, but yeah. This rod as well is another crankbait rod of mine that I have that I might be looking to upgrade in the future, and that is the St. Croix Legend Tournament paired up with a Corrado K, just the 200 size Corrado. That is a workhorse reel, and everybody knows it. I've got that spooled up with 30-pound braid. This is probably a 15-pound mono leader or fluoro leader or something like that. And as you can see by the massive bait on here, this is the rod I use for large crankbaits. That's a 6XD. And the reason I would like to upgrade it in the future is because it's a 7'8" medium heavy, moderate. So it's medium heavy and it's a moderate. So it can get the job done for a 6XD. But anything more than that, I don't think it would work very well. I haven't actually tried an 8XD on it. but I just don't think this rod itself is quite strong enough for that. And I would love to get into throwing 10XDs and some of the tactical DDs and some of the more big crankbaits, like big deep divers, and this rod just wouldn't quite get the job done for that. Maybe it would, I don't know, but 6XD is the biggest I've gone, and I don't feel like I would go much bigger. Not to say that I don't like this rod, it's really good. I was also using it a bit earlier in the year for pike fishing, and I actually caught a muskie on it.
Oh! Dude, this is giant!
So the rod itself is very solid. I love the rod. I just don't quite know if it's strong enough for any bigger deep cranks that I would like, but that being said, a 6XD is a big deep diver and it handles that well, so yeah, that's about it for this rod. It's really nice. It's the Legend Tournament paired up with a Corrado K. Can't go wrong with the Corrado K pretty much ever. Yeah, that's my big crank setup for now. This next rod that I'm here to talk about is another Bass X. This is actually the first rod that I purchased for myself for a bit, like as a bait casting rod. And as you can see, it's got some line stain on there, but it's alright. I'll try to clean it probably eventually. This sun just keeps changing its mind. Anyways, like I said, it's the Bass X. This is a 7'1" medium heavy fast. And the reel I've got paired up with it is a Corrado DC, and that's because this rod is my current spinnerbait rod, as you can tell by the spinnerbait on there. So that's my spinnerbait rod, and the reason I like it for spinnerbaits is because it's kind of just a generic jig rod, and it works really well for spinnerbaits. And the reason I've got that paired up with the DC is because you're throwing a spinnerbait when it's windy, and DC is going to help with wind and not backlashing. Not that I really have a problem with it, but I'll take any help I can get. The line I've got spooled up in here is just some other 30-pound Super Slick Power Pro. Nothing fancy. I don't have much to say about this rod. It's a spinnerbait rod. It's kind of just an all-around rod too, though. It can do just about anything. It's 7'1" medium heavy fast. So if you watch any like beginner's guide to fishing, like bass fishing, and they tell you to buy a bait caster, this is the exact one that they will tell you to get. So yeah, and that's not why I bought it, I just liked it, but that's the rod. So that one was technically my last medium heavy, but this one is also kind of a medium heavy in a way. This is my most expensive combo. This is a Shimano Bantam MGL paired up with a G Loomis GLX. And it's a 7'1" heavy, but it's recommended for up to 3/4 ounce, which is not very heavy. My primary use of this rod has been like swim jigs. This is actually a Mega Bass, I don't know how to say it, UOs, something like that. It's like a swim jig but with an underspin. But I've used it for swim jigs mostly. Some other stuff. You can use this rod for a lot. It's kind of like the Bass X I just told you about. It can be used for a lot, but just a bit heavier. Swim jigs have been a big thing I've used on it, but I've also used bluegill swim baits, like bluegill RTF by Savage Gear. I've used chatterbaits. This is my kind of go-to rod for chatterbaits as well. Small frogs as well, like the Jackal Chiaro frog, and like other small frogs like that. This rod would work great for it. Other than that, not much to say about this rod. It was really expensive. The Bantam MGLs were like 500, and this rod regular price is like 700, I want to say. I did not spend that much on it. I bought this off Facebook, and I bought this at a fishing store that was on clear out sales. But yeah, that's my combo right there. I've got 2 more bait casting rods to share with you, for bass at least. So this one right here, as you can tell, is an SLX DC paired up with an SLX rod, and I use it for frogging. Right now I've got spooled up on there, some 50-pound braid, but it's not just any braid, it's Power Pro Max Quattro. So if you know anything about Power Pro Max Quattro, it's thinner, they claim, than regular braid, and so it does a really good job at ripping through weeds and lily pads where you would be throwing frogs. This is my favorite frog. It's a scum launch frog. Really good frog. It's so soft right out of the package, and it makes hookups so easy. Not much to say about this rod. It's a frog rod. It's 7.2 heavy fast. I said way too much there. I'm definitely going to cut some of it out. But basically, frog rod. It's heavy, 7.2 fast. I have the full SLX combo on here, and I think it looks good. And I actually broke my frog curse earlier this year.
I got a fish on the frog. I did it.
A couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago, maybe a month almost, probably more actually. But I broke my frog curse on this exact combo with this frog tied on, so I'm hoping to catch more frogs this summer with this combo. Not catch frogs, catch bass with frogs. I accidentally deleted the clips of me recording this one, and then I have another new one that I'm sharing. So this is my flippin' stick. It's a Corrado K. That's the power gear size, so that's actually a really slow gear ratio. It's 5:1. It's really slow but stronger drag, which maybe I'd go faster, like extra fast, but the stronger drag is also a nice touch to have on a flipping stick. The rod I've got that on is a G Loomis E6X. That's a 7'5" heavy. It's their flipping rod, and the rig I've got on there is super basic flipping rig. That's a 1 ounce weight. It's double pegged with some littler pegs. That's a Jackal Archelon or Archelon, I don't know how you're supposed to say it, on a 5/0 straight shank flipping hook. Pretty basic flipping setup. I'm hoping to use it a good amount this summer for some bass up in some thick cover. And yeah, not much to say about this rod. Some people like a bigger rod for flipping, but I think this length is good just because it's a nice weight. It balances super nice in your hand. It's not tip heavy. And it's short enough for you to get real up close to them and you can really stick it to them. Powerful. Otherwise, not much to say about this rod. It's pretty simple for a flipping stick. The line that I've got on there is same as the frog combo. That's 50-pound Power Pro Max Quattro. So just thinner, making it rip through stuff easier, because that's helpful on a flipping rod, I think. So yeah, that's my flipping combo. 7.5, heavy. I think it's extra fast. Maybe just fast. Yeah, no, just fast. So 7.5, heavy, fast. 200 size Corrado K, 50-pound braid. Pretty simple. It's a flipping combo. So that was my last bait caster. So now we are moving on to spinning rods. And this is yet again an SLX rod. And I've got that paired up with a Shimano Nasky. This is the newer generation of the Nasky. I really like them. I've got that paired up, or spooled up with just some 10-pound braid. And right now I have a drop shot tied onto it, but this is kind of my do whatever you want with it finesse rod. So I could throw a shaky head on here, I could throw a Ned rig, I could throw a wacky worm. I could kind of do whatever with this rod. The reason that drop shot's tied on here with that weight, that's a 3/4 ounce, and that was just because me and Robin were fishing the St. Lawrence, and because of all the current there, 3/4 just makes it easier to get that drop shot all the way down there quicker. But yeah, this is kind of my all-around rod. It's a 6.9 medium fast. Not much to it. It will do just about any finesse spinning rod type technique well. And yeah, SLX rod, Nasky. This rod right here is a St. Croix Legend Tournament. So I've already shown you one of these, and this is just another one of mine. This is a what they call plastics rod. So this is kind of my go-to rod for when I want to throw a wacky worm. I've got that spooled up or paired up with a Vanford, just 3000 size, and that's some 20-pound braid on there. 10-pound. Yeah, 10-pound mono on here right now. And what I've got on it right now is a shaky head with a Yum kind of, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a slim worm with a curly, like, kicker tail. I don't know how to describe it. But I was using it for shaky heads. I didn't actually catch a fish, and it's because I was catching all the fish on the popper that day. But yeah, not too much to say about this combo. I use it for wacky rigs, and I could use it for small finesse jigs if I don't want to retie one of my bait casting rods. Today's weather is all over the place. I also forgot to mention, but that rod is a 7'1" medium fast. But this rod is my favorite spinning rod. This is my drop shot combo that I can use for other things, but I really like throwing a drop shot. And I've got just a slammer on there again. That's the VMC spin shot hooks that I've got on there, because it helps you get rid of line twists, which is always nice. The rod is a G Loomis E6X paired up with a Vanford 2500. And the rod is 610. I think they call it mag medium. I'm not 100% sure what it means. It basically just I think the way they describe it is just that, sorry, I'm scratching off minnow scales. The way they describe it is that it's the ideal taper for a drop shot or something like that. I don't know, but it's a medium, but it's kind of more on the medium light side. And they describe it as extra fast, but it's got a super soft tip right here, and it makes the drop shot just so easy to catch fish on. And I've caught a lot of fish on it, and I plan on catching more because this is one of my favorite combos. This is just some 10-pound line, and I believe that's 8-pound line, 8-pound fluoro on there right now, just because I was in the St. Lawrence and it's super clear in there. This is my favorite spinning reel setup. I really like the Vanfords just because they're so easy with this reeling. You get that immediate sensitivity because the bail is MGL, so it's super light, and so the way they say it is the startup inertia on turning your reel is like 45 or something % quicker. And so it's just a more responsive reel, and then the drag on the Vanfords is just really good. So when you're fighting those big water 6-pound smallies and you need to drop down to a smaller line size, you have that really good drag you can rely on to make sure that that fish doesn't kind of jump your line and break you off. But yeah, that's my drop shot combo. It's really nice and caught a lot of fish on it, and I plan on catching fish on it. So that is my last bass rod, but we're not done because now we have my musky rod to talk about. This is another one of those Legend tournaments paired up with a 401 high gear Tranks. Full cork handle there, nice for when it's against your body. And this is an 8.6 extra heavy fast. The sun just keeps changing its mind today, and it's making recording not perfect. But yeah, this is some 80-pound line. It's definitely really heavy, but when you're fishing for muskies, you want to be able to just, get that fish to the boat so that the handling process can be kind of as quick as possible, and that fish doesn't tire itself out too much in the fight to the point that it takes forever to get back. You really just want to get that fish in there, get it in your big net, and then get it unhooked, throw it on a bump board, take a few pictures, and then get that fish back in the water and hold him there, and he should be back swimming pretty good as long as you're quick with the way you handle him. And the best way to start that process is having the right gear to get that fish into the boat as quick as possible. So that's why 400 size tranks, 80-pound line, extra heavy musky rod. And I am looking to get another musky rod because this is my only musky rod. And because it's an extra heavy, it doesn't do great with the smaller baits that really excel during the start of the musky season in spring and early summer. But come fall and whatever, this is definitely going to be the rod that I'm using all the time for throwing big plastics and whatnot. But I do have my eye on another musky rod that I will hopefully be getting within the next couple months. And so that is all of my rods. Hopefully that didn't take too long. Now I just quickly want to go over rods that I plan / am thinking about purchasing within the next year-ish before the next season would start. And we're going to start with this. See this reel? It is a Ultegra, and it's one of the few of the plenty of spinning reels I have that I use during ice season, and they just sit there in the open water season. It's an 1,000 size reel, and as much as I would love to get a spinning rod for all of my spinning reels, that could get very expensive. So I do, at some point this year, plan on getting a rod for this, and the rod I've been looking at pretty strongly has been the Mojo Bass 6'10" medium light extra fast, and that one I would be able to use for any of my smaller stuff, and then Ned rigs, because I told you before about the SLX rod, how it can do Ned rigs, but it's also a medium, and so I really couldn't throw any of my smaller Ned rigs on there. And even then, with a medium, the Ned rig isn't great, but with a medium light and a smaller reel, it would work really well. And so I'm hoping to get that at some point this year, but I also am not dead set on that specific rod. It could also end up being something else that I haven't seen yet, but for now, that's what I have. I also was just talking about my musky combo, and like I said, I wanted to get another musky combo, and the rod that I've been looking at is the Legend Tournament 7'9" heavy moderate fast, and that way I would have a big musky rod and then a littler musky rod, big musky rod, littler musky rod. I think I would still get a 400 size tranks just because they're easier to find than 300 size, but also if I don't really want to buy different line, and the 80-pound would still work, but I would be able to use that one for smaller bucktails, smaller plastic, like the really small plastics, and then a handful of other things that I just wouldn't be able to get away with on this rod. And that way I'll be able to still catch lots of muskies in the early spring when muskie just opens, because I didn't actually go out for muskie opener this year. Not that I was able to, but next year I hope to be able to. And this big rod is great, but if I want to catch muskie on muskie opener day, I definitely have to be ready to throw some smaller stuff. Alright guys, so I already had to re-record the flip and stick, but this is a new rod that I got before I originally recorded all this stuff. And it's the musky one that I was talking about. This is the 7'9" Legend Tournament. It's a heavy, moderate fast. They call it the lipstick. And the reason for that is because it's designed for baits with a lip, like jerk baits, and then other cranks that you might feel like using on it. The reel I've got paired up with that. This is just the reel from my other musky rod right now. It's the 401 high gear tranks with 80-pound mainline to a strong fluoro leader. I don't know if that's like 150 or 120 or something like that. But yeah, moderate fast, 7'9" heavy. The reason I got a lighter musky rod was because, well, first of all, now I can bring other people with me, like my friends like Spencer and Braden who don't have their own musky combos, and we can each use one, not for the same stuff, but. And then the other reason, I didn't just buy it for my friends, believe me, I did not want to spend that much just to get my friends another combo. But this one is, like I said before, right before this, 8.6 extra heavy. So that's good for like big plastics and stuff. But when it comes to smaller stuff like jerk baits and really small, like not really small plastics, but like a mini Medusa or stuff like that as well, and then just also smaller bucktails. When it's early in the season, this will be a better rod for me to use just because it'll be the right weight rod to throw those kind of lures on. So yeah, I do have another Tranx on its way that I'm going to just line up with the same line and put it on this rod or that rod. I think that rod has a bit of backing, like a tiny bit of mono backing on it, but I realized you can't actually fit a lot of 80-pound braid on a 400 size reel. Like only, not, I say only, but like 100-ish yards, I think, last I checked. So I'm just gonna fill that one completely, but so just whichever one I think will cast farther, which will probably be this one when I'm throwing plastics on it, versus that one, which is just like smaller baits. I think that makes sense. But yeah, that is my new musky rod, the St. Croix Legend Tournament Musky Lipstick. I talked to you guys about my big crankbait rod and how I want to get a bigger one. The one that I've been looking at the most has been the IMX Pro 8-foot heavy moderate fast. That way I would be able to get away with throwing a 10XD. I think they also have an extra heavy. I don't know which weight would work better for 10XDs, because I still want it to be like able to throw small enough baits to throw this one. That way I would be able to kind of phase this into something else or sell it maybe. But that's the one I've been looking at, is the IMX Pro 8-foot moderate fast, heavy or extra heavy. Haven't decided yet. Haven't done my research on it yet. But that way I'd be able to throw 10XDs, but then also throw stuff like 6XDs and like Deep X 300s and tactical DDs and other fun deep cranks. And then I talked about my small crankbait rod, and I could also just look into the IMX Pro line of crankbait rods and get one of the medium heavy ones for this. That way I'd be able to throw 1.5s but also 2.5s and kind of bigger size score bills. But they also have the GCX line of G Loomis rods, which I don't have any of, but they are kind of, I think they replaced the I believe they replaced the E6Xs. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe they're just another one now. But the E6X or the GCX, one of those would also be great. So I just haven't done my research into that yet because it's not a technique that I use a whole lot of the time. But I would definitely use it more if I had a more capable combo. Other than that, there's not much else for me to say. I've also been looking into getting a swim bait rod, like a bigger swim bait, like glide baits and whatever. But that could also just be something I throw on my smaller Legend tournament. But then there's also the, I want to say Omen Black 13 fishing rods. They come in at like 200 Canadian dollars, and they're 8-foot heavy and extra heavies. And they design those specifically for swim baits and glide baits and stuff like that. So I haven't decided yet, but I have looked at those and have thought about purchasing one maybe. But then I would also have to get another reel. Like I said before, I have that rod right here that doesn't have a reel currently, and the specific reel that I would like to get at the moment, if you ask me right now, is a Corrado 150 MGL. I just haven't decided on that yet. Other than that, I don't have really anything else to talk about, other than maybe eventually getting a rod specifically designed for spinnerbaits. So yeah, that's it for the rods I have been looking at / might want to buy. And just like that, that wraps up my video today. So I hope you guys enjoyed. The weather, or not the weather, but the sun has kind of just been a pain today. Or the clouds, I should say. The sun's kind of stayed in the same spot and done nothing. But the clouds and the wind has been off and on and off. It's been weird, but I talked about my fishing rods with you guys for, I don't know how long this video is going to be, maybe like 30 minutes. I apologize for not posting a video recently. I think the last one I posted was the musky one. Now I don't even remember. I've just had a lot of other stuff I've been doing, like captaining an ultimate frisbee team and organizing that kind of stuff, as well as working, and I haven't been out fishing a lot recently. And then I just had a busy weekend because it was my birthday and then Canada Day and stuff like that, but I'm hoping to continue to keep posting. And now there's another cloud. But I'm hoping to keep posting. Definitely more fishing videos to come. I have like 6 I need to edit right now, so you can definitely expect to see some fishing videos. Just don't know exactly when they'll be coming to you. But that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I talked for a while. Hopefully you're still here. If you are, thank you. Leave a like on the video. Drop a comment. Tell me anything you want about my fishing rods. If you have any advice. If you have any not advice. If you want to get mad at me for spending all my money on fishing rods, sure. I understand. But yeah, that's it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, or if you're not subscribed yet, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.